What the mainstream media reported is that after a prolonged negotiation, Red Bull has decided to keep Sergio Perez. But what they didn't tell you is that Red Bull didn't come to this compromise out of its own free will. The sacking of the Mexican threatened the expansion of the sport into Latin America at the most crucial time. And Liberty Media was left with no choice but to veto Red Bull. And today, we will tell you why the Perez sack had to be stopped. Formula One has been riding the wave of streaming companies to reach new audiences, and the Latin American market is too important to let go. Sergio Perez survived his sacking by Red Bull despite his shambolic display thus far in the season. The Mexican started the season in scintillating form, getting on the podium 4 times in the first 5 races. But while his performance began to drop afterward, Red Bull remained adamant that it was just a temporary glitch. They were essentially fooled into giving him a new contract, and right after getting this contract, the Mexican completely tanked. The numbers speak for themselves. An interesting stat compared the total number of points scored by the top 4 teams in the last 8 races. As you can see, Perez is dead last with a measly 28 points. But we can make an argument for him. Maybe he is just unlucky on Sundays, but his qualifying has been nothing short of horrible. In the last 8 races, the Mexican has qualified outside the top 10 on 5 different occasions. When he finally managed to qualify second in Belgium, he was pushed back to 7th at the checkered flag. As if that was not bad enough, Perez has raked in almost $3 million in damages this year, even though the team had to deal with cost caps. Helmut Marko, who was never really the biggest fan of the Mexican, was first to get fed up. The team resolved to sack him, but Perez was saved by Liberty Media. As it turned out, streaming giant Disney Plus had an agreement with Liberty Media to be given full access to Perez for their upcoming series about the Mexican. The series, titled Don't Give Up, Motherfucker, would be based on his 2023 season, where the Mexican produced some of his finest drives. The key factor that worked in the Mexican's favor is the fact that this movie was due to be released on July 31st, right around the time when Red Bull were deciding his fate. The series promises an intimate look into the professional and personal life of the Mexican driver. It was one of Disney's first voyage into sports, and you can understand why they would not approve of his sacking just a day before the release of the movie. This was never going to work in Red Bull's favor as well. The energy drink company knows that a successful series on Checo is poised to boost their sales in Latin America. Free advertisement and exposure is at the core of what Red Bull do. The team doesn't make any money in Formula One, but the exposure it gives them has enabled them sell over 12 billion cans in 2023 alone. While this series is the reason behind Disney's disapproval of his sacking, Liberty Media has its own agenda. The Mexican Grand Prix is an important race for them on the calendar. They feared that if Perez was to be sacked, the attendance for that race is definitely going to tank. More so, the overall excitement would be gone, and their revenue would take a major hit as they wouldn't be able to sell those higher-end tickets and merchandise. After all, the people who bought the tickets for the race made those purchases with the intention that they were going to see their national hero. This was why Liberty Media completely disapproved of the sacking. But even within the Red Bull rank, not everyone was in agreement. Horner is not really open to the firing. The Mexican gave him full backing during his scandal, while Verstappen refused to back him. Helmut Marko, the guy who is Perez's biggest obstacle, had no option but to back off for now. But he was quick to remind everybody that the team was going to reshuffle in 2025. Just after confirming the Mexican will stay, the team has already begun searching for his replacement. To this effect, they have organised a race between Ricciardo and Liam Lawson. The idea is that whoever put up the better time would replace Perez. This, of course, hasn't gone well with Tsunoda, who has insisted he is better than both Ricciardo and Lawson. For now, we can only confirm that the series will be exclusively shown in Latin America. We can also confirm that people in the United States are not able to watch it, but this might change. Broader implications. Another driver who would be difficult to sack based on the sport's need to expand would be no other than Chinese Guan Yu Zhou. The driver comes from a wealthy Chinese family who are into car sales. While Hamilton and Verstappen were crisscrossing Europe during their karting days in search of the next track to dominate, Joe had an FIA standard karting arena built only for him by his father. The Chinese also comes with a $30 million sponsorship for any team willing to sign him, but this goes beyond just money. China is the #1 exporter of vehicles in the world, surpassing the United States, and with a population of 1.4 billion, Liberty Media would not be willing to lose that market just yet. Perhaps he should also start a series of his own so that the governing body would be forced to keep him around. Considering the revenue drop that will accompany the sacking of Perez, do you think it was right to keep him? Let us know in the comments. This is Front Lockout, signing off.